Greetings. Greetings and shalom to those of you who are saints. Welcome to this broadcast. Impromptu, but critical. As you can see the hashtag, the black hat. I used to have my farmer brown hat. I don't know where my hat is gone. But now I have the black hat. Because of where it's positioned, it is symbolic of my message to the Hebrew and the African descendants, as well as those of you who have Indian descent and don't know that you're black. You are classified as black by the Europeans, the Caucasians in the United States of America and other parts of the world. Those of you who have Indian descent and have my skin tone darker than me, even fairer than I am because the sun has done a bit on my skin, you are classified as black. Greetings. Can you hear and can you see clearly? Is the broadcast fine so I can start talking? You would notice where I am. I'm at work. I'm in the truck, but there are times when I have to invest in you, my people. Let me step out for a bit. Notice what I'm saying to you, that you are classified as black. Oh, rain. So, it's good. You can see and you can hear clearly. Let me talk to y'all. Let me talk to the Anthony Johnsons of Guyana. Now, most of us, the vast majority of people, if asked about the experience of the Africans and the Hebrew in slavery, you will say that white people enslaved Africans. That's what we've been taught. And that is the truth. But that is not the whole truth. I'm here to address the Anthony Johnsons. Brother Fabe, good to see you, man. I'm here to address the Anthony Johnsons of this country called Guyana, here in South America. Who was Anthony Johnson? Why is he important to what we have here in this election cycle? Because whenever it comes, there's division, there's fighting, there's so many things, but that is not what Anthony Johnson is all about. The attitude of Anthony Johnson is on display now. And I'll address that to help you African descendants to know why these people are so dangerous to your existence. And this is not just about the PPP here. The PNC is included in the same Anthony Johnson syndrome. APNU is included in Anthony Johnson syndrome. It's a behavior that is historic in its nature. In the United States of America, a man named Anthony Johnson, I think he was from Angola, an African, a black, as you call him, a black, I call them, those people, black people. Anthony Johnson was from Angola. He was freed. He became an indentured servant. And Anthony, Apostle, good to see you, my brother. Anthony Johnson started to plant tobacco. This man became a millionaire. A man looking like me and you became a millionaire. He was one of the wealthiest black men, as they're known. Kim, good to see you, sis. Shalom, sister. This person, this creature called Anthony Johnson, after being a slave, or knowing of his history, of his people, being freed in the 1800s, 1500s, somewhere around there, to work as an indentured servant. Then developing a business of his own. This man began to own, or he had somebody working for him as an indentured servant, and the fellow wanted to leave. After his time with up, Johnson said, "You can't leave." So the African went to work for what is called a white man. And Anthony Johnson, according to the report, went to court. Stay with me here, you'll get the point in a minute. He went to the court to challenge a white man taking his black property. Do you all hear me? The white man said, "You're free to work on my land. You're not a servant, you're not any slave or anything. I'll pay you for what you're doing." Anthony Johnson went to court, a black man, to challenge the legality of a white man employing his black slave. The court ruled that Johnson could retain that black man indefinitely on his property, as his property. Johnson then won the right in court to own slaves, black people. He's the first African in the USA to become a member of the Slave Owners Association. That's not a white man. Because to Johnson, success meant owning people like himself. Because whatever master did, the white man, he felt, based on his behavior, that I have to do this, I have to own black people too. That makes me an elitist. That makes me, of course, numbered among those who are important and wealthy. That is the Anthony Johnson syndrome about which I speak. We're a black man. And ERC, y'all might as well pick up your phones today and call me. Where a black man was of the view that he could go to court, and he did, to fight for the right to own black people as slaves. And he won. Therefore, he became a member of the Slave Owners Association of the USA. Not sheep owners, not cattle owners, not dog owners, people owners, slaves. Black hat. The black hat is on today. This is the debut of the black hat. Because you're all Africans in this country, and you of Indian descent in this country, who support oppressing your own people, you are the Anthony Johnsons to whom I will speak. And your end would never be good. When you are of the view that you must step on the back of, step on the neck of, step on the head of another person in your country so that you can get political favors and you can be numbered among those who are successful, you are Anthony Johnson. You are an enemy of your own people. If you are of Indian descent in this country and you are of the view that you have to side with the PPP or whoever they are to oppress your community members who are also Indians, but they don't have money like you. So to get your way with them, you have to harass them, intimidate them, take things from them, charge them exorbitant fees for leasing rice lands and so on. You are Anthony Johnson. You, and your end would not be good. Anthony Johnson, I say again, it's a syndrome that exists in this country that I'm brave enough to address because somebody has to tell you about yourselves. Anthony Johnson had a history of oppression. And because of his wealth, he became an oppressor. I shall say that to you again. Anthony Johnson suffered or had a history of oppression. He was oppressed along with his people. He came from Angola. But when he became wealthy, he became an oppressor. How many of y'all market rats? You never used to be around the place with people on a normal basis, trying to make $1, struggling like the average person. And then, because you got into the pockets of criminals in this country, you decide that it is now your right to talk down to your own people, to condescend, to choke opportunities out of them, to tell them that if they don't come on your boat, they would not have opportunities to succeed. Yesterday we saw just the beginning of sorrows for this country, where persons have announced to you that they are Anthony Johnsons. They are prepared to function in the company of the oppressors, the Slave Owners Association of Guyana. They believe with all their hearts that if they are able to be successful financially, then they are successful as human beings in general. No, you're not. When a man who was a slave could go to the court to argue for the right to own slaves, you are destructive. In PNC, they're Anthony Johnsons. You are no different. I don't forget the days during your few days in political authority, 2015 to 2020. What did y'all do? You used to come and tell people how much you're going to do for them, and Granger was so accessible and everything else. And then so many persons have come with pain to me to say that this same person, among others, y'all members of parliament and stuff, people couldn't see y'all. You too busy. Persons couldn't talk to you. You were inaccessible. And how do you know that there are Anthony Johnsons in this country? Because whenever I'm talking to your political criminals right now, y'all are of the view that as long as you attain a certain position, people must immediately serve you. That's how y'all function. Apnu said that the PPP had you suffering for 23 years. The Black Hat is on today. And that they were so mean to y'all. And then along came a man named Jordan, who taxed even my phone credit. Tax water. The PPP didn't do that. Imagine that I saw when I purchased my data from Digicel on the PNC or Apnu FC, there was a tax attached to my data for my phone. The PPP didn't do that. The Black Hat is on. Anthony Johnson's in this country, whereby once you get authority, you believe that you are at liberty to crush your own people, to make them even more economically depressed, while you climb the social ladder. When an Indian farmer carries his rice to a rice mill, and he's told, well, we'll only pay you this amount, because they know that that man is depending on the sale of his paddy to feed his family. When a man is told, look, take this tractor right here. You don't have to pay me right now. Take it, sell your rice, and we'll deduct when you come back. And when he comes back, almost his entire crop is gone. In reference to the cost, he has to, because the people who give him the tractor say, no, we have to pay. You have to pay. And these are what Indians are doing to their own people. Because of the Anthony Johnson syndrome, where you would look at those of your own ethnic group and crush them. That is what we are living in Guyana. And the more money that is in the people's mind available, the more Anthony Johnson shall arise. Because you have to feel that you must be successful economically, financially, in order to fit into the circle of the elites in your country. Once you are cleared in your conscience that it is okay, it is okay. That's it, mommy, self-preservation, full display. If you are convinced that it's okay to oppress a people or to be in the company of those who oppress people, listen to me again. Anthony Johnson, because he went to court to fight, won the case, and he then became a member of the Slave Owners Association. He became a member of the Slave Owners Association. So there was a clown who told, oh, Africans never enslave anybody. Stop it. That's an absolute lie. In the USA, where the history of oppression was so great, Anthony Johnson fought to own a slave. He became the owner of slaves. And then he joined the big boy group, the big boys group called the Slave Owners Association. That's what we're dealing with. Nobody in, alive. Alive on the broadcast there. You see, come back to about 3 o'clock. Yeah. So I'll call you. All right. Good man. Yeah, so Anthony Johnson, in order to feel important, had to oppress his own people. Do you know Anthony Johnson's around you? Do you know them? I can name quite a few of them. This mentality, this attitude, where Africans and Indians in this country, those of East Indian origin, where y'all are treating people as if they're your property. Forgive the background noise, but it's raining though. Where if you believe that you could treat people as though they belong to you, and you can just condescend and behave how you want to behave and disrespect them and everything else, because after all, you got connections, your rope is very short. Even preachers, pastors and prophets have hopped on the train of the Anthony Johnsons in this country. But you should expect that, because at the end of the day, remember that they use all kinds of schemes and strategies to get money from you. And because they love money so much, they must put their mouths and their heads wherever money is. What would make a man who was a slave turn around and when he gets money say, I have the right to own slaves? What would make a man who, when he was beaten, saw his family being beaten, lynched and all of that, turn around and say, listen, now that I have money, I have a right to own them and do just what master did to me? You know what that does? What happens to you? It messes up your head. When you are an African, let me talk to you all, and you are a Hebrew, and you could look at oppressive people who you know Do not give contracts to people who oppose them or are critical of them. The only way you qualify to get money, and this is our taxpayers' money, by the way, is if you are on their side. What does that tell you? And you could support that. What does it tell you about yourself? When Imran said that you must poison black people, that's what he said. Black people. Not realizing it's all by himself. But in the context of Guyana, you know what he meant. And Irfan Ali couldn't come out and condemn him. Barra Jagdeo couldn't condemn him. The Private Sector Commission couldn't condemn him. None of them can talk. And you support the same set. What are you? When a PPP individual supporter told me, one with connections told me that African Guyanese, who look like me, would never qualify for any $500 million, $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion contract in this country. He said it. He said y'all would never qualify for it. What does that tell you? What does it tell you? See if somebody could tell me that on social media, not a secret. Type it publicly. And you jump in the group, y'all, and say, well, listen, read for the PPP, because PPP will develop Guyana. What are you saying about yourself? Anthony Johnson was convinced that he could only be a successful black man if he behaves like a white man. Come ERC, call my phone, because I want to be with y'all too. I'm ready to deal with all of y'all. So call me and tell me I'm supposed to report to y'all. First of all, I don't report to any one of you. This is a fact. This isn't racism. This is history before your eyes. And history being repeated. Anthony Johnson felt that success to him meant that he has to own black people and enslave them. Just like it happened to him, it must happen to other people. Because his measure of success was which white man I could be like. That's how he measured success. Which white slave owner can I be like? Which white slave owner can I associate with? And as a black man owning black slaves, then I am considered to be not black like them. Y'all do not see what lies before you. There's no way that Winston Jordan could have said that you suffered for 23 years. Somebody said my audio is messing up. Is it okay? Winston Jordan could have said, the life is ticking. Well, I'm out in public, so anything can happen. I'm way out in the bush. Tell me when it gets better, please. Just inform me as to when it gets better, because it seems to be good on my end. Is it all right? So I can continue talking to y'all? Is it fine? Am I good? Somebody say audio is quite fine. I don't know what's happening. That's either GT&T, Digicel, or E-Networks. One of them. Or some Atlantic somebody. Or it's just okay in some people's ends. If it's bad on your end, come out and return to the broadcast, because it could be that your data, your mobile data has got you stuck. Or your network has got an issue. When an African man could look, or an Indian man could look at another Indian man and say, listen, in his mind he's having this conversation. You would never be better than me. You never own what I own. You would never live where I live. And in order for me to do that, I have to create systems to oppress you, to keep you below me. When that happens, that's Anthony Johnson. There are people who will give you, Jaggi is one of them, they will give you enough for you to not feel as if you are poor or being pressured when you're in their circle. But they will never allow you to attain enough to be like them. Jagdeo is a perfect example. Barra Jagdeo cannot name one person who he has caused to experience what he experienced off of our taxpayers' money as in political power. He cannot. And you need to ask him why. Anthony Johnson didn't seek to kill slaves. He sought to own them. The PPP has got a different attitude because of social media. They cannot send police to shoot and kill you just like that anymore as the days would have been before, and that can't happen anymore. Because social media and cameras are all around, so they can't get away with certain things. They don't know who has got cameras, little cameras on their houses and different areas to capture these moments. But there's a different strategy now. They're not seeking to kill you, they're seeking to own you. Whether you're African or you're of Indian descent, they are seeking to own Guyanese. How does that happen? It happens by economic control. So watch what they do to you. They would be a business owned by one of these people, but they would find African descendants to be employed. When you have to work under their authority, then they can control how you eat. They can do what they want to do to you, because remember, there's no union to protect you here. They will underpay you. So while you celebrating a little $100,000 profit from a contract, somebody on their side, really on their side, is getting 10 million. While you may get $300,000 is so much, there's an economic strategy involved. Then for you to keep your job, you have to be known as the person who reports to the owner about your fellow African descendants and your fellow Indian descendants. So you all have to now go and tell and complain on one another. So you have to become the one who could lick Master's butt. And the more you could kiss up to these people, the more power they feel they have within themselves. So we had yesterday, for example, on display, and I'm happy Jack did that to y'all. There's no secret anymore with y'all. Because Anthony Johnson, when he owned slaves, couldn't hide it anymore. So he had to become a member, he became a member of the Slave Owners Association to show that I am with you. I'm not against you. So yesterday on display across this country would have been people who had to step out to say, I'm with you. I'm not against you. So to Anthony Johnson, slavery wasn't wrong any longer. What? Is it back? I know we had a glitch on my end. That was me right there. I'm trying to drive to find a better spot. Tell me when it's good. Don't worry, I'll be on the road in a minute. Should be better now. Should be good up here. Yeah, so Anthony Johnson realized, listen, in order for me to be an important slave, I have to own people, because that's what he was. That's what he was. He was an important, he didn't realize what he was. He was an important slave because he could never be white. He dressed white. He tried his best to behave like they did, lived in the plantation house like they did, but he was never white. He joined their association, the Slave Owners Association of America. He joined that, but he still wasn't white. When you see you have to go and say things that are destructive about your own people. You have to lie about your own people. You have to do things that you know are oppressive to your own people just to fit in the circles with those who want to be elites in this country. You are in trouble. So this is not an African directed message. The black hat is to all of who consider black, because in USA even Indians are considered black. You're not considered brown skinned and light skinned. You're black in the USA. All of us attack this as the same thing. Jack Dew is considered black in the USA, not Indian. But in this country, Guyana, here in South America, people had to say, I am with you. So Anthony Johnson had to go to the Association of Slave Owners and say, listen, I'm with y'all. So yesterday, persons had to begin to step out to say, I'm with you. Yeah, they say you're oppressing people. Yes, we said that you're oppressive. Yes, we saw that you're oppressive. We saw that you fired an entire brigade at the St. John's Ambulance Brigade here in Linden. You fired 27 people in a crisis. COVID time, knock all them off. We saw that you locked nurses, doctors, and patients out of Mackenzie Hospital while New Amsterdam Hospital was open, Georgetown was still open, Surrey was still open, West Coast was still open, but Linden strategically was shut out. Anthony Johnson is now saying, no, the PP aren't racist, they're not discriminatory. It just happened to be that Frank Anthony, through Rudy Small, locked y'all out in Linden, and an unconscious child couldn't get treatment. And a mother was holding her baby, a woman running with the baby, begging for help in Linden. That didn't happen in Georgetown. That didn't happen in Port Moran Hospital. That didn't happen in New Amsterdam Hospital. It sure didn't happen at Skeldon Hospital. But it happened in Linden Hospital. And that was an accident. That was not discriminatory. It was just an accident. That you fired an entire fleet of staff from St. John's Ambulance Brigade. It's just accidental that you locked us out of the hospital. It's just accidental. That Berbice gets millions upon millions of dollars of investment. Sugarcane workers were paid when they were with Granger. When they were considered to be redundant. They were paid. Jaglio went into Berbice and said $250,000 for y'all. That's just by chance. While people in Linden who were fired never got a cent. Like $250,000. But sugarcane workers who got their money, got money twice. But the Anthony Johnsons cannot talk about that. You have to go in the line and say, I'm with you. There's nothing called oppression here happening in Linden. You're not racist in your orientation. You're not racist in your demeanor and how you behave towards people. No, you're not racist. You observe certain things. NISIL controls lands in this country. NISIL has control over land in this country. I want y'all to tell me, when Calvin Heath London was removed from NISIL, who replaced him? That's by accident too. Who is running Gaisuko? A failed entity. Name one African in the last 10 years who you saw they put to run Gaisuko, 5 years. Name one. Talk to me, man. Charles Rose School of Nursing, predominantly African Guyanese children want to go to school. There's a shortage of nurses according to what they said. But what do? Tell them you're all from Linden, you can't come here. The workers who are paid temporarily in this country, the 10-day sham. They were told you have to report to march all across this country because the government give you a job. I have relatives who were told that. The government give you a job and you have to go to work. And your working day involves joining a line and say, one Guyana, PVP, one Guyana, vote PVP. And that's what they did to y'all. Because Anthony Johnson's were on the line saying, we are not discriminating, we are not mean, we're not bad, we're just standing with. When Granger and others saw how people voted in this country, saw that Lyndon, not me, I never voted for y'all, but saw that Lyndon voted overwhelmingly by population for Apnu FC. You passed through this town, gone to Letham, gone to Madia, built fancy concrete roads, and left the road by GRA like a death trap because of Anthony Johnson's. You all became so big that you didn't have to take care of your own people in Linden. The report is out. I'm still waiting for the name. Where $21 million would have been released to fix Mackenzie Sports Club way back in 2018 or 19. And a member of parliament from Linden said, Apnu FC, no. You all call the name because I don't know who it is. So I want to know which one. If it's Sears or what's his name? Figuera. Or was it Valerie Sharp? But Valerie Sharp was the minister then, so it couldn't be her. There's a record in history of a black man named Anthony Johnson who bought slaves. And he didn't just buy them, he went to court to fight for the right to own them. Because the white man said, you're not qualified for this. And he fought in the court to say, no, I have the right to own black people too. This is Guyana for y'all. And the sooner you wake up and realize what surrounds you, the better off you're going to be. There are people in your country who are fighting you. Indian descendants, there are people in this country who are against you. And they're Indians just like you. How do I know that? Because of how they treat you. If they feel that you are going to get a little more than them, they create a system in business to shut you down. You know what blew my mind when I studied this man, Anthony Johnson? You know what caught my attention? The black card is on today. You know what got my attention? When this man, a former slave, an indentured servant, when this man began to plant his tobacco, began to do business, and became a millionaire, that said person did not feel as though it was enough. A man who would have worked hard under very, very harsh conditions. That man, when he became a millionaire, was not satisfied. For him, it had to be that he owned people who looked like him. There are people across this country, Indian and Africans, the two main groups. The Portuguese are right there at the corner, but not many, who believe that they are not successful unless they control other people, unless they're the most dominant in the neighborhood. This country, Guyana, is governed by economic oppression. And if you all are scared to talk, I am not. And if you're afraid to be identified as one who's courageous enough to tell people, I am not. Because when a man could look at you, Indian or African, and make a determined or a deliberate, conscious decision to stifle your growth as a person, that is your enemy. Bharat Jagdeo has control over the treasury. Let me take this call. Out of my back, there must be a pocket dial. Brothers and sisters, being an Indian Guyanese doesn't cause you to escape what is upon you. Because Anthony Johnson was not about his race. It was about class. Who can I connect with to feel better than my people? Anthony Johnsons are those, even Indian people, who when they have access to contracts, will tell you, come, do this for me. But they pay you far less than they know you're worth. Just to control you economically. They don't say, we are demanding that you give this brother, an Indian brother like me, a contract. No. They'll take 10 contracts and then come and tell you, listen, I'll give you a chance to do one, but I'll pay you 50% of what it's worth. That's how they process. And your own Indo-Guyanese brother and sister would... We back? Tell me if you're back. I got a phone call. You are not safe from the Anthony Johnsons. Watch what caused Anthony Johnson or would affect him severely, and all them in Guyana. If Guyanese who are free-minded, this you cannot be liberated by handouts. This happens in your head. If you are a free, independent thinker, you can identify your enemy and you can disassociate yourself from your enemies. First step, you must know who your enemy is. It is not the other brother who's struggling to live like you. That's not your enemy. No. It is the people who are willing to say that what is wrong is right. That's your enemy. When a farmer of Indian descent would know that a rice miller is treating his brother wrong, but he doesn't say anything about it, you must mark him as an enemy. Then the next thing that you do is, as much as you possibly can, you withdraw your finances from, don't spend your money on these people's business. Watch how fast they catch himself. I know this is too late for some of y'all to get it because you'll never understand what I say to you. But you have got Anthony Johnsons in your town called Linden now. And next week when town week starts, you dress up and you run around the place supporting these people who are saying that people who oppress your brother and your sister, when you leave this country and go back to US or Barbados, where you come from, when you go back to Georgetown, wherever you come from, the oppressors of your people in Linden, right here, will be. But you want to support Town Week, all black, all white, all red, all whatever color it is, and don't recognize that your financial support empowers Anthony Johnson. I shall not spend $1 on these people. You have to multiply in reference to resistance. You don't diminish to deal with Anthony Johnson's. You have to multiply in terms of resistance. I will not spend $1 on y'all. Now, this will hurt y'all. And they may be calling for somebody to condemn Nigel London. To hell with you. Condemn all you want. You don't feed me. So I say what I gotta say. Do you believe? First of all, I watched at least 2 broadcasts yesterday. And the PPP and Linden, I'm talking about Linden here. They were very, very strategic and deliberate in saying that, look, they say we racist. This is, they report, they're registering their nominees now. This is nomination day in Linden Region 10. Let me show you Anthony Johnson's on display. They came to register nominations or nominees. Look at this. In their rally or their march, they're live saying, they say we racist. They say we racist. What is after registration? First of all, how do we talk about ethnicity? I'll tell you why. The next thing is, look around. Look how many African Guyanese are here. You hear that? Look how many African Guyanese are here. You hear that? Oh, they say we racist, but look around, look around. Look how many African Guyanese are on this line. Why did they have to do that? Are you of the view? Are you of the view that because those who are racist, and speaking to the racist set in PNC or APNEVs or PVP, you believe that if an Indian person walks into PNC racist circle, one of them, who, not all of them, but among the racists in the PNC, you believe that because an Indian person walk in their group, they suddenly like Indian people? No. Let me tell you what they do. What they do is they use that Indian person. Say, look, Barrett, look. One of y'all come right here. Look, you see that? He got sense. So the reasoning is that if an Indian person could come to PNC, he got sense. If an African person like yesterday is seen in line with the PPP, oh, he got sense. We not racist because look, one of them come over here. Well, let me help you with the Anthony Johnson history. He joined the black or the Slave Owners Association of the USA. Guess what? He was standing among white men. He was the first. When he joined them, he was the only black man among all these white people. Do you believe that those white people were no longer racist because Anthony Johnson came among them? Let's reason now. And those who call me, I'll call you back in a minute. Let's reason this thing out. Are you of the view that because it's one little black man who was once a slave, now a millionaire, has joined the Slave Owners Association of the USA, does that mean that the white men in the room like Anthony Johnson? Does it? Catch yourselves. Somebody type this to wake up all the Anthony Johnsons who were out yesterday and the day before. Type this to me, please. Association does not mean appreciation. Association does not mean appreciation. You're going to wake up and it'll be too late for some of you. And don't call my phone. Do not call my phone when it happens. Association does not mean appreciation. Never think that because some people have you in their circle, they like you. Anyone who can serve Anthony Johnson's purpose, you're good enough for him. Anthony Johnson in the room with those white men was important to them. In what context? That he could enslave black people. So you're good. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. You, Anthony, you're a good boy. Come on, Anthony, you're a good boy. Because after all, you got black people under your control. So you're a good boy. You're not fighting for freedom. You're not fighting to release them. So Anthony, you're a good boy, because after all, you have got your own people under subjugation. So you're good. Y'all who stood yesterday, I can promise you that you are only good when you demonstrate disrespect for your black brothers and sisters. You're not allowed to talk on their behalf. You cannot stand and defend any one of them. I've said what I said. Don't believe it, because why? I want you all to ask yourself a question, because your conscience is not seared fully yet. So ask yourself the question, why in the world would the PPP, I'm talking to you because you did it, be so deliberate to say, look, black people here with us, we have Africans with us, we're not racist, you see black people here with us? Why do you think they did that? Why would they be so careful to identify one ethnic group? Say, look, black people here, we're not racist, look them here in the line. We're not racist. You see them? Look, the brothers here with us, we're not racist. Why? You were used as toys and pawns, and you're stupid enough to buy into it. Because it's an economic benefit for you. That's why you could buy into it. At the end of the day, typical whore. You don't care what people call you. Typical whorish behavior. I don't care what you call me. After all, I get my money. That's a horse thing. But some of y'all are worse than horse, because at least they try to feed their children or something. You sold your conscience. Tell us all on this broadcast, why would they be so specific? Look, black people here with us. Why would they do that if they're not racist? Do you ever see me standing around saying, looking in your person standing here with me in this line, look, I'm standing here looking in the man beside me. Do I do that? There's no reason to do it. So the white men with the slave owner Anthony Johnson, the black man was saying, they said, listen, even the black people got them enslaved, so slavery isn't bad, because look, Anthony Johnson got them here. So Dion Vincent just typed, of course, how much did they give you? $2,000? No, the way you typing here, you're entitled to just maybe a tamarind ball. Dion Vincent type, you is a jackass. Dion, you have to say you are. You is called a plural pronoun. So you have to say you are a jackass. Not you is. But then again, you graduate from Ifat University too, so who knows? You and Ali are the same English lecturer. A whorish mind focuses on pleasure and money. You do not focus on principle. The Caucasian, the white slave owners had the right to say slavery isn't bad because one of their own people have them enslaved. So how is it bad? When people take you and put you on display, it's a sign of how they view you as a person. When people grab you and they put you on display and say, look, these black people here, you are called an exhibit. You're not an associate of worth. You are an exhibit. So they take the crowd, say, look, black people here. See them? Look, black people standing with us. When they do that to you, You've become an exhibit. You're not even an associate of merit or worth. So what the PPP did yesterday was say, listen, we're going to show those who criticize and talk against us that black people are with us. Not that we like them, not that they're important. We're going to hold them as exhibits. Look, y'all, you see them? They're on our side. That's what you've become. That's how low you've become now, whereby you are simply seen as somebody who is associated with those who deem racist. Is that all you're worth? Is that what y'all are worth? Jagdeo stood and said that he wants to have control of all municipalities. If you don't know what that means, it speaks to domination of a people. That's what it speaks to. Anyone who wants to be totalitarian in their nature is generally dictatorial. And that's high political science to some of you, but you'll get it. Anybody who wants to control everything is a dictator. If you were not dictatorial in this processing, you would have said, listen, let the people choose who they want to lead them. We shouldn't have any political party interfering in local government election. That's when you know that somebody isn't dictatorial. They would say, let the people have their community leaders who lead the communities. We'll support those communities. We're going to invest in those communities, the resources of the people of the country, and they'll develop themselves. But a totalitarian nature says, we want to control everything. All of the regions we must control. All of the townships we must control. We must be in charge of everything. That is not the behavior of somebody who loves you. But yet you're running out there to spend your money on town day and town week. If you're spending money, don't spend it with people who oppress you. If you go out to town week and you know there are people who support oppression, don't support them. Boycott their behavior because they said that you're stupid and you're not worth anything. Boycott them. You must be strong enough to stand against those who oppress you. Anthony Johnson could only succeed, finally, because the slaves felt that he had the same power as Massa. And I close with this and leave here. I have to go back to work. Anthony Johnson felt, or the slaves felt, the same Africans like him, felt that this man is too rich for us to confront. Once you get there, you're finished. I hope you all don't ever get there. I pray that at least most of you are not there yet. The moment you look at any person and say, this person has so much money for me to fight them, you are toast. That's when you no longer become a human being. You can't think for yourself anymore. You can't talk freely anymore. You cannot even eat freely anymore. You can't move freely anymore. You can do nothing because immediately in your mind, there is somebody who is too big for me to talk to. The third and final point I'm saying to you here is that the slaves, when they looked at Anthony Johnson, who was once just like them, they said he's too big for us to challenge. And that was the end of it. Who do you think will control your lands in this country? Can you tell me? Who do you think? If you don't know, at the regional level, the regional chairman has to sign off on lands. If you want to build something in Mackenzie, the municipality, the town council has to meet and decide on whether they permit you to build what you want. Now, they have some in the present administration who will fight you to build something in your own hometown. What do you think will become of you all? Huh? when people come from outside of Linden, because they don't even submit your address anymore. First of all, there had to be a system whereby people in the region would know where you're from, and then they can say, oh, this is Linden, we give them this, we release this land, or say we agree with them having the land. Now they no longer send addresses of people. So we don't know who come from where to buy land in Linden. What will happen to you? If they're controlled now, the municipality, by the PPP Civic, and have no people who could take spite on whoever it is, what do you think will happen to y'all? Well, not after what's bad, the PPP wants to control land. If they win this election, I'll tell you what will happen to y'all. You would see land being cleared like crazy in Linden. And structures going up that you can have in your faces. Mark my word. And with that, I'll say see you until later on. We'll talk later. I'll be back this evening if possible, because we ain't finished with this yet. Let me go to work. Share the broadcast. Let them know that we're here and we're awake. This black hat, when I wear it, is to speak to those of you who are black, not Africans. Africans and Indo-Guyanese, as the white man sees us as black. We talk to you. Y'all do well. See you soon.